Hello guys and welcome back to another FPL video. My name is FPL Meerkat and today it's the big one. I've got my final team selection for game week 1. Now the team might change before the deadline, but I've been on the same team now for about a week ever since the last preseason game, so I'm feeling pretty settled with the current team I've got. So let's get straight into the site and run through the team that I've got going into the game week 1 deadline. Now we're over here on the site. I've got an auto pick team here, so I don't spoil any of the names that are going to be involved in this team. Going through the goalkeeper, my starting goalkeeper, he's not going to be here, is he? He's been in my team since the start, basically. Dean Henderson is going in the team. He's been made first choice as well. It looks like Johnston might be leaving the club. He's definitively first choice. He's been in my team basically since the start. And yeah, I just like having a 4.5 million goalkeeper. He's going to sit in the team. I hope the Crystal Palace defence is going to be really good. They've got a nice set of starting fixtures to start the season. And I'm hoping I'm going to get those clean sheet points for just 4.5 million in the goalkeeper position. In terms of the other goalkeeper, we're going to go for my boy. We're going to sort by team selected by, and we're going to scroll all the way down to Lumley. He's actually gone up by 0.1%. He was 0.2% previously. Yeah, just a random 4 million goalkeeper. We don't think there are any starting goalkeepers here, so I'm just going to pick one who is low ownership, and I'm going to play Henderson all the time because I hate rotating goalkeepers and I always get it wrong. It always goes wrong every season, so I just stick with the 4.5 million goalkeeper, make it as cheap as possible and try not to make as many transfers in that position. Moving into the defence. Now it's a bit of a shake-up here, a little bit of a different defence. We are still going to go with Gvardiol. He's gone out of a lot of players' teams I've seen on Twitter. But I'm sticking with Gvardiol. I think he's going to be nailed on in that Man City defence, and I would love to cover that defence for... It's a hefty price of 6 million, and he hasn't looked as attacking, but things might change during the season. And yeah, I think he's quite a reliable asset with a lovely set of fixtures, at least for the first 11 there, and maybe a tough one in game week 5. Moving on to the second defender, I'm going to go for Gabriel. Looked really good in the last preseason game. Scored a goal as well for Arsenal's last preseason game. I just want to cover the Arsenal defence. They were stupidly good last season. And despite that pretty tough opening run of games, nice run of fixtures afterwards, they can still keep clean sheets in these games. And I think they're some of the better premium defenders. I'm not going to double up on the Arsenal defence. I'm not that confident on it. But the fact they are not in many people's teams, or at least the teams I'm seeing about, means that I kind of want that. And I do really like Ben White as a pick, but Gabriel's attacking threat from corners is just so good. And for cheaper than Ben White, I think it just makes sense to go with him, to go with Gabriel over Ben White. But if Ben White's in your team, I really like that as well. Trent's not going to be on this team because instead of Trent, we have been opened up to an absolute gem, I think, Kwanzaa for Liverpool. In this team, we're going to have quite a few double-ups, and a lot of these teams you see right now are part of those double-ups. And Kwanzaa is a fantastic enabler, I think. 4.5. As a Liverpool fan, I think he's going to play pretty regularly. He's definitely going to start the season. He might get the first few games. And yeah, getting those fixtures, getting a Liverpool defender for 4.5, it feels like a very nice risk to take. And this is quite a well-balanced team. So even if he's not in the side, it doesn't really matter. I've got backup. So for 4.5 million, I think it's really nice to cover the Liverpool clean sheets. The third best defence in the league. I have actually got the best defence in Arsenal, the second best defence in Man City, the third best defence in Liverpool, and the fourth best defence in Crystal Palace. So I've covered all four of them with these defenders here. And yeah, I'm losing that attacking threat from Trent, but I'm covering all the bases there. And yeah, I think he's a really nice risk to take in the team. I haven't got Mykolenko in this team anymore. Someone who I've had in a lot of drafts, but instead I'm going with one of my favourites, which is Robinson. He's up at 8% owned now. I just really like him for the absolute nailedness. 37 starts last season. He's going to play every single game. He's going to play all the minutes. Really nice opening set of fixtures. I'm going to bench him for that first game against Man United anyway. That's the only really tough one there, and maybe against Newcastle as well. But yeah, I think Robinson, super nailed, offers that attacking threat. He's been getting up the wing in the preseason games. Got 2 assists, I think he did as well. and he's far more nailed on the left side. Castagna and Tete are battling out on the right side for right back. I wouldn't touch either of them because it seems really 50-50 who's going to play there. I'd just go for Robinson on the left, and he seems to be nailed. Now, we're going to have a 4 million defender in here as well. Now, interestingly, I do really like Barco. I really like Barco as a pick. I think for 4 million, if you're going to get a left back, potentially wing back if Brighton end up playing a back five at points, I think he's really nice. I just worry about competition, and I'm only ever going to need him for the game week 5 fixture, I think there. So instead, I'm going to go for Johnson with that fixture against Southampton. Seems to be the starting right wing back for Ipswich. I'm hoping he continues in that position as well. For 4 million, I think that's an absolute, well, it's not an absolute bargain because it's the Ipswich defence at the end of the day. But he's my 5th defender. He's going to sit on the bench for most weeks. And I just need him for that game week 5 game when obviously Man City and Arsenal play each other and Fulham have a little bit of a tough game as well. I will say I've mainly been looking at rotation pairings most of the pre-season. I'm more going for players that I just like and I feel certainty on. I like Robinson. He doesn't rotate as well as some of the other defenders, maybe like a Mikalenko would rotate with the rest of the team, or Mikalenko and Robinson, I should say, rather than Kwanzaa. But I want a good, solid team all round. I want good assets on the bench because we just don't know what's going to happen in the first few games. There could be injuries, there could be benchings, and I'm pretty much always going to have a good bench option as well to go with. Unfortunately, this team does come to the sacrifice of my main man, Mohamed Salah, because there is a new man in town by the name of Diogo Jota, who has looked absolutely amazing in pre-season, and I think he's going to get a lot of minutes in these starting games. Again, I'm happy to take this risk because he's looked great in pre-season. He's had a lot longer than the likes of Gakpo and Nunes. Personally, I think Slot is going to make players into a position. What we've seen previously with Klopp, especially with the front five, is very fluid. We've had Darwin playing at striker and on the left. We've had Jota playing striker and left. We've had Gakpo doing the same. We've had Diaz playing on the right at some points. There's been a lot of chopping and changing. I think Slot is going to set players into a position, and I think the starting striker is going to be Jota. I think the starting left winger is going to be Diaz. And obviously the starting right winger is going to be Salah. I hope we sign a new right winger at some point because he seems to be the only option at right winger. And I think Darwin's going to compete with Jota for that striker position, and Gakpo's going to compete with Diaz for the left wing position. Now, I think Jota is a far more clinical player than Darwin. Well, the stats definitely show that. And I think that's what Slot wants from a striker. He wants pace. He wants direct pace from Salah and Diaz on the wings, and then that clinicalness from Jota up top. And as we've seen with the Netherlands, Gakpo seems to play better on the left wing. So from my perspective, I think Jota is an absolute steal at the moment with these fixtures, and if he's going to be playing striker, I think is really, really good. And again, I can take this risk because the team is very well rounded because I've used the 5 million from Salah. It does really hurt me to go without Salah, and that could definitely bite me if he gets regular minutes and he gets goals and assists. He will every season. Salah will get above 200 points. He will be the highest scoring forward. But for the 5 million saved, I think I can make this team really, really nice. We do have a premium midfielder rather than Salah. Instead, it's going to be Saka. Again, I just want to cover that Arsenal attack. They look so good in pre-season, and they looked so good last season. I think it'll just be more of the same. They could win comfortably in that Wolves game, and I think Saka is the best bet. I have considered Ødegaard, as he is nailed in that team, and he does get into some very good positions, but Saka's going to play all the minutes. I think he's going to be regular in that team. He's got the penalties. He's the best Arsenal attacking asset. I do like the look of Havertz as well, but again, I think the strikers, there's so many strikers to pick from. I just don't want Havertz over the 3 that I've got in my team currently. And I think it's nice to go with a punt on Saka there with the 29% ownership there. There is a bit of a dilemma on the left wing when it comes to Martinelli or Trossard. I do love either of them as punts, but again, we just don't know which one's going to play, and it could just be they could start half the games each, and no one would really be surprised. And Jesus, again, a little bit of a rotation risk. Havertz could play as the 9, which could push Jesus out of the team, or he could also be competing on the left. So there's a lot of risk there, and I think Saka is just a safe bet. Hasn't impressed massively in pre-season, but again, he's just a very reliable asset, I think. We're going to go with Gordon as well. Gordon's been in plenty of my drafts. I just think those couple fixtures at the start are so good for Newcastle. Little bit of a worry whether he'll start, given how good Barnes and Murphy have been in pre-season. But I think given Murphy's a right winger, I think Gordon on the left makes a lot of sense. Gordon plays much better on the left. You can have Murphy on the right. And I think those will be the starting wingers. I think, yeah, with those opening fixtures, Gordon is just such a reliable asset. So many goals and assists last season. He's looked good in the short amount of time he's had in pre-season. I think he'll start, and I think he'll do really, really well to start off with. In terms of next midfielder, we are going to go for Nkunku. I'm not 100% set on Nkunku. It's mainly the opening fixtures, and again, he's an easy bench for Game Week 1 for me. Home to Man City. The rotation that Chelsea have is quite high now. Chelsea made all sorts of new signings. They've got plenty of people coming through the door, and I really don't know if Nkunku is going to regularly start in this team, given he's just come back from injury. But he's so good for 6.5 million. Again, it's a little bit of a risk I'd like to take with the fixtures looking as good as they do. And again, an easy bench option for me in Game Week 1. So Nkunku's currently there. I do think I want a 6.5 million midfielder, and he's the one of choice. Now, I do want a differential in this team. And this is an interesting one because I haven't heard this guy talked about much. I've gone for Kamada of Crystal Palace. 0.6% owned. But with the Eze rumours going around and the fact he's looked great in pre-season, I think he's going to play quite a lot of minutes. I'm going to have him for that opening game against Brentford. I might have to bench him against West Ham. But he's my 8th attacker. And that's a really solid 8th attacker to have at the 5.5 million bracket. Again, a Smith Rowe is someone I've considered. He's looked really good in pre-season. Alanga, I think, as well, is someone who's looked very good. Hudson-Odoi, I'm a little bit worried about the minutes for him, but Alanga's looked very good in pre-season. He's also a great pick, I think. But I've currently got Kamada there just for something a bit different, because if I'm going to go really different, I want it to be at the cheap positions. And I think he can be a really great secret weapon of mine at such low ownership. Not covering for Eze, I think, but again, give me something different to attack. As long as Eze doesn't go absolutely ballistic, I think it'll be okay. And hopefully if Eze is scoring a lot of points, Kamada is also scoring a lot of points. He might become a rotation risk in the future. They have signed Sarr, Crystal Palace have, and Ayew as well could play in a similar position. But I think Kamada will get minutes for the time being. And to start the season, I think he looks good. With the money left, of course, you can tell I'm still going to have Haaland in this team. The way I look at it is that a lot of players can cover for different players. Again, Kamada covering for Eze, maybe not, but again, he might get close. Jota covering for Salah, again, maybe not, but he could get close. Kwanzaa for Trent, another one. But I don't think anyone can cover for Haaland. Haaland can easily get 3-4 games, 3-4 goals in a game, and that's it. It's a 3-0. And then no one else gets any points. Haaland gets all of them. I just don't think he can be covered for. And it's a nice safety blanket to have. And he's a nice captaincy option for a lot of the games. Again, a little bit tricky in Game Week 5 against Arsenal. I could potentially bench him in that game because I really don't think he'll score against Arsenal. But in every other game, he could go mad. So I really like having Haaland in the team. I prefer him over Salah because of Jota. I much prefer the combination of Haaland and Jota than Salah and any forward, Watkins, whoever, apart from Isak, but obviously we'll get onto him. I think Haaland is a safe bet to go for, and he's worth a lot of money, but I think with the potential, with the cheapness you can go elsewhere on the pitch, I think it's worth having Haaland. I do think having Salah as well has sucked too much out of the team, and I think spreading funds, having another premium defender in here, upgrading, having Saka in the team, having another premium, and then upgrading one of the other midfielders to a Jota. Doing all of that just from downgrading Salah to Jota has been, I think, is a big improvement on my team, and I'm liking this a lot. Isak is in next. Of course, he is the only player who has been in every single team I've made. He's never once left. Again, arguably the second best striker in the league, contending with Watkins, isn't he? At 8.5 million, with those opening fixtures, ownership is rocket high as well. Again, I'm not considering ownership that massively, but I think he's just such an easy pick in the team. Going to start in that Newcastle team. Opening fixture, I'm probably going to captain him as well. It's between Haaland, Jota and Isak at the moment for captaincy for me. But yeah, I think he's a solid pick. And yeah, just never left a single one of my teams. And Muniz is going to stay in the team as well. I do like Wood, but again, that sounds a bit dodgy. I do like Chris Wood, but he's contending for minutes with Awanoe. I think he is first choice, but Awanoe could easily come into the team and displace him. I don't think Raul Jimenez is displacing Muniz. I think he's the starting number 9. And again, a little bit of a tough Game Week 1 fixture, but then the fixtures are really great for Fulham. And yeah, that is how the team is looking. As you can see, I've doubled up on a lot of teams here. Doubled up on Palace, doubled up on Man City, doubled up on Arsenal, doubled up on Liverpool, doubled up on Newcastle, doubled up on Fulham. I've doubled up on 6 teams there. And then I've got, obviously, your 4 million bench players and Nkunku to cover the really nice run that Chelsea have. And I really like this team. I don't think this is going to change after the deadline. I think the only change I might make is Kamada to a different 5.5 million midfielder. I think I'm okay going without Trent, and I think I can quite easily get him as well if I just downgrade one of the attackers and then upgrade one of Guardiola and Gabriel. But yeah, I really like this team. Let's make the transfers and let's set out the team. Obviously, Lumley is going to be on the bench there. Henderson's going to be starting. We are going to have... I like to put them in order. Call me crazy, but I like to have them in order. So, Guardiola there. Kwanzaa, the next player. Most expensive midfielder, we're going to have Saka. We are going to obviously start Jota in the team. We're going to have Gordon there. And I'm currently going to play Kamada over Nkunku just because that Man City at home fixture, I've got Gvardiol on the team. I don't really want them playing each other. He could return in that game, but I'm going to bet my chances with Kamada at the moment, and we're just going to do a little switch there. Yep, to have Haaland there. I am going to put the armband on Isak for now. That's probably the thing that most likely to change before the deadline. I do really fancy I think Isak's going to score. I think he's going to score against Southampton, basically. It's just whether I think anyone can outscore him. I do prefer captaining midfielders because they have more ways to points. They score 1 more point for a goal. They score 1 more point for a clean sheet. So those are really nice. But I think Isak's just such a set player. And given his massive ownership as well, having his points doubled, I think is really, really nice. I am considering Haaland as well. I didn't even say I'm considering Saka for captaincy. It's mainly these 5 here. Probably not Gordon. I do think Isak's definitively a better asset than Gordon. But yeah, it's basically between these 5 for the captaincy here. Let me know who you think I should captain in them. I'm assuming a lot of you have got Salah. I'm assuming he's going to be the highest captain player. So yeah, that's going to be risky, but I'm hoping that if he scores high, Jota also scores high. I think I'll be very unlucky if Salah goes off and Jota doesn't, given that Jota is playing that striker position and Salah's coming a bit more wide to hopefully assist Jota is basically, I'll be very happy about that. We're going to save the team there. I don't know why that's popped up. We're going to save the team there, and that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. How do you rate the team? Give it a rating out of 10 in the comments below. Any changes you think I should make, and who is your Game Week 1 differential? Have you gone completely template? Are all your players about 20% ownership? Or have you been a bit like me where you've got just that one asset who's below 1%, maybe not that extreme, but maybe below 10%, maybe one of those cheeky little players that are going to get you some points over the template players. But yeah, obviously the football kicks off tomorrow. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure your teams get locked in. Get subscribed if you want to see more content on this channel. See how the team does over the season. And I'll see you in the next FPL video.